Welcome to Living Fully. Each episode is a chance to talk about mental health in a way that's simple, honest, and helpful. We'll share stories, tips, and tools to help you feel supported and feel your best. I'm your host, Katherine Hertig. Today, we're talking about humor, laughter, and joy, and why they matter so much for our mental health. I'm joined by counselor Joel Zimmerman, and we talk about what's happening in your brain and body when you laugh, and how humor can support mental health by shifting perspective, regulating stress, and creating connection. Joel, thank you for being back again. Always great to chat with you on here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is one I look forward to talking about.
Yeah, I'm really excited too, because I talk with you guys a lot kind of about the heavier stuff, you know? We've talked about depression and anxiety and trauma and all these things. So this is kind of a different angle. And I mean, it's definitely like laughter and humor and joy and that kind of thing. It's obviously a really important part of mental health.
Yeah, I think the frame today, maybe set the frame, because I think set it up for me. Because when I think about what we're talking about here, you know, humor, the age-old adage, right? Laughter is the best medicine.
Yeah.
So yeah, is that what we're talking about?
Totally.
Cool.
Yeah. I think it'll go lots of different directions. Yeah. So laughter, a sense of humor and kind of these things, how do you see them kind of fitting in a mental health context?
I think there is, again, the notion in a mental health context. And I think when we talk about like counseling and when we talk about general like attitude, people are always unsure about what humor's role might be. Maybe they're tentative or they're hesitant and they're afraid that either they're going to do it wrong or that it sets the wrong tone or it's inappropriate. And that's stigma maybe that we can kind of start to shed light on. But yeah, like it plays a part. It is humor and the ability to see and experience joy and laughter and all these things. These are just emotions. These are just parts of the human experience, just like sadness and grief. And so they deserve equal weight at the table.
For sure. And I don't know if you can speak to this, but from a physiological standpoint, what is happening when we find something really funny?
Yeah.
What's happening inside our body?
So lots of different things. I think we can talk about the physiological aspects of this from kind of the brain chemistry that's going on. So like neurotransmitters and hormones. Is the first one. Laughter releases and activates, just like any, again, emotional experience releases and different neurotransmitters and hormones, the chemicals that exist in our body that serve purposes to like activate us and do certain things in our body. So again, just like every emotion, you know, good, positive things trigger things in our body. So hormones like and neurotransmitters like endorphins. So those are like the feel good, things that just like make you feel good. They bind to opioid sites in our brain. So like that's why opioids are powerful. They are a feel-good kind of medicine. And so endorphins kind of trigger that feeling. Dopamine, it's things that are rewarding. And that's kind of how we consider dopamine is like that reward chemical. Serotonin, kind of considered like a mood stabilizer, something that kind of helps us kind of bring down. It's kind of linked to calming. It plays a big part in sleep.
So all those hormones are kind of
these are all
activated?
happening. Yeah. Oxytocin, also like really good for like the love. It's called like the love hormone or something. Yeah. It's like a big part of like feeling connected. Cortisol, it's like the stress hormone. That one kind of goes down or kind of abates in these moments. So all of these things like chemically are happening. So it's important to kind of understand that.
Yeah. That's super interesting.
But there's a couple other things that are kind of happening where there is this incompatibility of if your physical body and laughter or joy, you're smiling, your muscles are contracting in a certain way, and the brain picks up on that. We call it kind of like bottom up processing, where like our brain is looking at our body and saying, that's how our body acts and feels when good things happen. Or like in positive situations, and it makes the connection for us. You know, muscles are contracting like laughter. If the muscles in your face are contracting as if you're smiling, the brain kind of gets tricked into it and going like, wait, this is how we feel when we're happy. It can be hijacked. We can use it to our advantage. But it's a really cool thing. They talk about the facial feedback loop. I think I've brought it up in the past. There's like this experiment that they did where they asked people to rate, I think it was rate ambiguous pictures or like situations, positive or negative or like happy or sad. And they asked people to kind of rate these pictures. They think a good thing is happening or a bad thing is happening. And then they asked people to do the same thing with a pencil in their mouth. kind of like biting like you would like a horse kind of biting a bit.
Yeah.
And what it does is it forces you to use the muscles in your face as if you're smiling. There's like, what do they say? So many muscles in your face are used for smiling.
Yeah.
And so by holding this pencil in your mouth like a horse holds a bit in its mouth, it forces your muscles to contract as if you're smiling. And they asked people to rate these pictures. And they found that when people were forcing a smile, essentially, they tended to rate the pictures more positively.
Really?
And so it kind of created this idea of this facial feedback loop where like if your face is physically smiling, your brain might get tricked into or thinking that you're smiling and therefore good things are happening and positivity are happening. So humor creates that. If you're laughing and you're smiling, your brain is going to pick up on that. And then coming back to the endorphins, the dopamine, the serotonin, it's going to trigger all that more. And it's like a feeds back into itself. It's a feedback loop.
So I could see that there would be situations that would be a positive thing and maybe a not so positive thing. Like,
well, appropriateness is always, got to read the room.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm thinking like, if you're going through a hard time, maybe if you do just kind of push yourself a bit to smile more or expose yourself to things that make you laugh.
Yeah. I think we should go back that recognition that like laughter as a coping technique or humor as a coping technique.
Yeah.
And I think the question is in any coping technique or coping mechanism, is it a healthy coping mechanism or is it not healthy coping? Mm-hmm. I think the first discussion that it's important to have is understanding when your humor is used as avoidance, helping you get away from something rather than help you face it.
Okay.
Or the idea that when it's like, when your humor is like self-deprecating, it's like taking you down or taking other people down.
Yeah.
Like laughing at yourself in a lighthearted way or kind of being in on the joke. And then timing, right? Like I think socially most, but like, yeah, is it appropriate in general? Like again, you're allowed to feel what you feel, but if you're laughing at the funeral, that's going to have consequences. And so you do have to be able to kind of, again, have some level of control about it, or at least some self-reflection to say, okay, like I'm feeling this way, but I recognize it's not the time or the place.
Yeah.
So I think the discussion, I think that what you're kind of getting at is like part of that, but also there's that like, what do they call, like kind of that toxic positivity that I think kind of comes in.
Yeah.
And
That's
what I'm hearing you kind of ask about a little bit there.
A little bit. Cause I mean, I'm thinking it's a balance. You don't want to go one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
If you're depressed and you're just avoiding it and pumping out the stand-up comedy specials and not really addressing, that's one thing. But if it's a temporary, maybe distraction or relief. Yeah.
So I think there is something to be said about using, and maybe that's what we're talking about, like intention and utilization, like using things that'll make you laugh. Like if you're down and you are trying to pick yourself up, watching the funny thing or doing the funny thing, you are allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think again, that this question, kind of the implied question that I'm hearing is like, well, if you're sad, are you allowed to try and make yourself happy? And if you are you avoiding or just not addressing a real issue?
Right.
So again,
and it would be not necessarily.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
like
sometimes.
If it helps you address, I think one of the better kind of shifts is like understanding that maybe one of the things that laughter helps us do is it can help us pendulate into and then provides a brief relief from maybe some distress. And again, when you're in distress, you might need to address some really hard stuff, but the engine can't run on full throttle the whole time. It needs a break.
Right. And like you said, it does kind of lower that cortisol at some point, right?
Exactly. Right. So these are things that are not meant to be on 100% of the time. If you're in distress and those stress hormones, which are meant to be temporary, if they're active the entire time and they stay there, that's going to just make it harder and it's going to be harsher on your body. Whereas, taking a temporary relief, and I think what humor and laughter and the ability to do this doesn't deny that there is difficulty, sadness, challenge, worry, something that needs to be fixed. It doesn't deny that, but it breaks it up. Mm-hmm. It's like a rest note in the music, right? It can be really intense, but there can be a brief moment of respite so you can catch your breath and you can go right back into it, I think. So like coming in and out of it, I think is one of the things that it kind of helps us do.
Yeah. I love stand-up comedy, and it's definitely something that can kind of get me out of a slump or a bad mood. And I find, especially at this point in time, with the way the world is and how stressful it is to see all these things happening around the world. I'm coming to the terms of kind of holding different emotions at the same time.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like being really disheartened and frustrated and scared and anxious, but also setting aside the time for these other feelings, 4 times for laughter and...
Well, it's a both and perspective.
Yeah.
This both sucks and we can talk about it, or we can be okay about it. And one of the ways that we can talk about it, like I say, is through humor, seeing the levity in a difficult situation, seeing the irony, seeing the contradiction. And that's, I think, one of the things that humor does is, it reframes without denying. It allows us to have both be in 2 places at once. It provides the ability to have some control. I think one of the fundamental things that humor and why comics, specifically comedians, they're all talking about serious stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's the joke, is that nothing that they're talking about at face value is often funny, but what they're able to do is they're able to provide perspective, and also it puts everybody in on the joke. It's a shared perspective that everyone goes, oh yeah, I feel that too. And that's funny that we're like, oh yeah, I've had that terrible experience happen to me and I'm not alone in it. So it creates that connection and meaning.
Yeah.
But perspective on the thing, to be able to hold it, and the choice to be able to see it as ridiculous, or, something is just ridiculous. So it allows you to do both at the same time. And I think that's one of the things that it provides, that framing to like do both.
I like what you said there, kind of like a feeling of being more in control.
Yeah,
of
agency.
It. Yeah.
If you can laugh at something that is difficult, you are making a very deliberate choice.
Yeah.
Because it is contradictory. Something can be incredibly hard. And again, I'm not saying to not take it seriously, but see the insert humor, insert levity, insert lightness, insert irony. If you can see those things in the difficulty, that is a deliberate choice, because you are choosing to focus on one over the other,
right?
Instead of just being consumed by the darkness, if you will.
And how do we do that without downplaying what we're going through, whatever that may be?
Well, again, I think it comes back to, does it help you address it? Does it help you turn into it? Or is it a way that you're using to deflect and avoid it? So does it help you talk about, see the thing and do it easier? Or is it like laughing it off and we're just not going to talk about it and moving on? It's no, we're going to talk about it. And again, this is going to help us do that.
Yeah. And this part of it I can see is kind of funny, or this.
Exactly. This part of it, again, it reframes that. It provides agency and some control. It disrupts that catastrophic thinking again of like, or that just all or nothing idea of like, is it all bad? If you can see the part of it that is funny or something, or the part of it that you can find some levity in, then it exists, that there's a part of it so that isn't. And so that disrupts that catastrophic thinking. It zooms out. It provides perspective that gives you distance. Mm-hmm. It puts you in an observer role, I think, in a lot of ways too, humor. And it shares, again, laughter is like a social construct, is a communal shared meaning, and it's a communication tool. So I think that's kind of helps do all those things.
And as someone who has dealt with depression and anxiety and, what is the term called? Distorted
cognitive
thinking?
Cognitive distortion, unhelpful thinking, call it what you will.
I mean, one that was definitely my go-to back in the day was catastrophizing. Yeah. I find that comedy, humor, those kinds of things does allow perspective. It's like, oh, things aren't as serious as I'm making them out to be.
Yeah, exactly. And again, some of that even just comes from like the observation of your own absurdity. Like when we are stuck in that all or nothing, black or white, like, oh my God, and then this terrible thing is going to happen.
Yeah.
And when we can point out, like, really, you're thinking that that's going to happen. Like, how many bad things have to happen before that happens? Like, how absurd is it, illogical, to recognize that that's where your head goes, and to be able to laugh at ourselves and go, oh yeah, like that's,
and like you said, and not like a self-deprecating way, but just like, hey, that's a kind of silly.
Yeah. Like, it's like, it's fantastical. It's absurd. Absurdism. Like, there's a word that I'm looking for when books are and movies are taken to the extreme. Surrealism. Yeah. It's surreal. It's like that you would think that's going to happen to you. It's like, I don't know if I'm describing that very well, but there's something about it that, I think breaks up that.
It does.
That type of thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something I'm curious about, we kind of talked about comedians, stand-up comics, that kind of thing. A lot of my favorites have talked about their own mental health. And, I've found it to be kind of common that comedians, people who use laughter, to, I'm sure, cope, but also spread joy to other people, they often deal with kind of mental health struggles.
Yeah, like it's a common trope that all comedians are depressed.
Yeah.
Or like have dealt with some tragedy or some terrible thing. And again, I like in research for doing this, like it's a really, really common theme. Adam Sandler talks about it. So many, late Norm Macdonald, lots of comedians. And there's lots of media on this. There's lots of kind of documentaries and stuff that highlight, again, in general, like creativity sometimes does come from dark places. A lot of creatives in general are able to do this. I think a lot of comedians, not all of them are actors, but even writers, people that spend time engaging in the human experience, trained their skill in experiencing all of human experience, the good and the bad, and the full range of and depth of all the different types of emotions and the different ranges of those emotions. So people who exist in these worlds, whether they're writing music or writing a story or writing a comedy set or a comic, writing a sitcom, they're trained to, and what they're doing is they're taking a singular human experience, the death of a loved one even, difficult situation, and they are viewing it through the entirety of the human experience lens. And so that's a skill. And again, humor in general is kind of where a lot of this comes from. But that's what they're doing. That's what they're good at, is that they can see it from all perspectives. And it's not all bad. It's not all serious. And once you kind of recognize that, and then they share with other people, you have to be able to do this. And then, sharing it again, I think, is the communal nature of it. It's that we're all in this together. Yeah,
I think it really does. It normalizes it so much.
Exactly. It's a shared experience. And humor and laughter, and we can speak about the sociological nature of this, like that humor specifically is a communal communication tool. But like we're all in this together and nobody gets out alive anyway. Right. And that's right. And so when you take it too seriously, you're not taking life with the full potential of the experience, that it can't be all bad. And if it is all serious and bad the entire time, you're missing the point. The joke is that we all end up in the same place at the end of this ride.
Yeah.
And, you have to be able to do something with it on your way there, I think.
Let's talk about that. Like humor as something that connects us. And you said a communication tool.
Yeah. So I think the one that always comes to mind, I study chimpanzees when they fight.
Yeah.
They laugh and they smile. So like smiling is one of the common ways that we understand what the evolutionarily benefit of a smile. It's submissive. It's where I'm showing your teeth to kind of lighten the mood, to say like, I'm not a threat to you. So like baring your teeth, but like smiling is like, is trying to laugh it off, saying, I'm not trying to kill you. I'm not trying to hurt you.
Yeah.
So don't hurt me back. And so when chimps fight, they laugh and they smile. And that's one chimp kind of saying
for that purpose
to say like, don't hurt me. I'm not trying to take this too seriously. Dogs sneeze. Right. I don't know if anyone's ever like witnessed their dog, like when two dogs fight, they'll kind of do this like coffee sneezy thing when they're like really energetic, and it's their version of like, hey, let's not take this too seriously.
Nice.
And so like animals have this like, hey, let's not take this too seriously way of communicating with each other, to say, hey, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Right? And we have verbalized to say like, hey, that's just a joke. Like, oh, like, like that nervous, like we're doing it right now. It's like, ha ha ha. Like,
I love that. I didn't know that about dogs. Trying to think.
Listen to it. You'll hear it next time. It's also co-regulation, I think, is the other good one.
Yeah.
When we're both like, if I'm okay, you're okay, especially if we're in a difficult situation and you see like, oh, they're calm. Okay, then maybe I can be calm too. Maybe.
Love it. Yeah.
And laughter is, again, another piece of that. When you're attuned with each other, when you're not, and it's like, what are you laughing at? This isn't funny.
Right.
Then it's that we're missing kind of the point. But ideally, again, I think what comics tie into, why music and art and literature connect with us, is because it gives the opportunity for shared meaning, is that we can all be in on it. We all understand, oh, what I've experienced individually, I'm not alone in it. Other people have done it too. And I think comedy and humor helps us do that.
And so what about those times when there's like a disconnect in that communication? Like there's not the shared humor, or, you are like, I'm just joking, but that doesn't go over well. How do you kind of I don't know, to use a counselor term, like repair those relationships.
Well, so understanding when it's not helpful, I think is important. So like listening, kind of read the room, being aware of what happens right after your humor. If you get crickets, right?
Yeah.
That's a sign, right? Like if no one's laughing, and again, watch a comic go on stage and
bomb.
Or read a joke. Yeah, Seth Meyers and Stephen and Jon Stewart do this really well. It's like when they read a joke that like they didn't write, they're just writing what their writers wrote, and no one laughs, and they go, "All right," like it's clearly that was not funny, and that's okay, and you have to be able to kind of take that
and learn from it and move on.
Yeah, I think again, if is it helping you approach or avoid, I think is important. If somebody is obviously, if you've said something that you tried to play off as a joke or you saw the humor in that landed poorly, I think it is your responsibility to say like, oh, that was unintentional. And that's unfortunate. When it's the other direction, I think when someone is trying to make light of a situation and you're not there, you're not ready to, or you find it inappropriate, I think it is important to like name it and be like that, that felt uncomfortable for me. Use curiosity, kind of saying something like, I think you're trying to be funny there, and giving them an out, to be able to say like, I don't think that's like you're trying to like be rude.
Right.
I see what you're trying to do there, kind of naming the intention of what you're like. I see that you're trying to make light of the situation. I don't think you're trying to be rude about it. I'm just not there right now, and appreciate what you're trying to do, and kind of giving them that out to say, I don't think that's what your intention was, to be glib.
Yeah, because intention is important. And
I see that you weren't trying to be rude about this, but like, I'm just not there right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair to say to somebody. Counseling does this in general. We are talking about the thing that people don't want to talk about. And sometimes people come to counseling to hear the voice or get the piece of the discussion that they're not getting elsewhere. So the most common example, and I think that when reflecting on doing this podcast today, and I think about, where does that come from? I think is when someone comes in and they tell me their horrific story of just the thing after thing after thing. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching and listening to these people's stories. And I'm like, my God, like you fell out of the tree and hit every branch down kind of story.
Yeah.
And I know that everybody in their life is going, oh, that's so terrible. I'm so sorry. Like, oh, that's so terrible. And, I hear that story and I go, that sucks.
Yeah.
And that's what we get. And that's exactly and they're like, yeah, right. Like, so that's like, am I being funny, or am I just saying the thing that not everybody is saying or something? I don't know what it is, but it's just like, it's a relief that like, oh, you get it, right? Because like in their mind, you can only see like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. Oh, that must be so hard for you.
I know people want to address it in a delicate way, but you are just kind of saying
that's crazy. I can't believe that. Like, what?
Yeah.
And they're like, I know, right? And they laugh. Yeah. And so like that's and
like in that moment, they feel understood,
heard, seen, connected, right? This person gets me.
Yeah.
And so again, if you can do that with people, and if you can do that with yourself, again, there's that bridge, that bond, that connection that says, and again, there's like, I got you, or like, I understand this, and it's funny.
Okay.
No. So like trying to find the humor in something. Again, I think coming back to whether it's forced, like talk, like again, that idea of like toxic positivity, somebody coming up to you and saying, just laugh, like you just need to smile more. You just need to like, think positively. That's coercion. that's forcing it on you, as opposed to it's my choice on how to see that. And that's my lived reality. And I'm allowed to kind of do that. Again, appropriate versus inappropriate in social situations matters. But so I'm never going to tell someone to laugh it off. But if I can help them figure out how to do that for themselves, that's different. All of that is what goes into it, but it's a recurring theme, like humor, and provides perspective, and perspective I think is really that helpful tool. But is it helping you approach this, or is it helping you avoid it and deflect it? I think there's a couple elements that we're talking about here. Like on one hand, I think the question, how do you find more joy in life, or humor in life? What do you do when it's inappropriate, or when you feel like humor is being used inappropriate in your life, either towards you or by you, or somebody else is kind of using it inappropriately? We kind of talked a little bit about that, kind of that toxic positivity, or somebody not taking something seriously that you want taken seriously. Those are fair. If we are trying to use more humor, I think there is this idea of, if you are trying, you can't just go into every situation guns blazing. and expect that to work. So like testing the waters, like, is this a safe place to try and, be a little bit, more glib or a little bit more sarcastic or a little bit more funny? Is it a low stakes situation? Are we talking about something that's kind of, maybe this is again contradictory, is that like humor is this thing that lets us do things, lets us say things, and lets us attempt things that are difficult, because I think it provides a break. It provides a relief. It provides a pause, distance, perspective, all the things that we're saying. And it's hard to capture that in an algorithm. It's hard to say what does that. And again, like humor has been studied. There's different types of jokes, subversion and comparison. There is a math to this. There is a science to humor, whether it's biological, like we're talking about, or kind of social or cultural, or just like the way that how communication works. But again, maybe it is the intangibleness of it. And it's like that we all understand that like there's this thing that we can do that does something that filters difficulty in our world through.
Do you think there's some things we just can't joke about?
That's the ultimate question. And
I guess it's just so subjective. That's going to be.
It is. And it is.
With a lot of people, like if they are going through something tragic, for some, it's like, no, we can never go down that road around this subject. And for some people, it's very helpful.
I think that's an important point. I mean, I think there is the most common understanding around can you joke about anything is it's all in the timing. Like there's a time kind of that has to pass. There's a perspective. Who are you in relation to that joke, right? Someone telling a racially charged joke sounds different depending on their perspective on it and their participation in it. I think, again, one of the kind of common understandings of some humorists is that we're usually talking about, and it's like how we deal with tragedy and with difficulty. And there are lots of examples of that in culture. And it's so serious, but like using humor to deal with and cope with things, because you got to experience it some way. So you can laugh about it or you can cry about it. The choice is yours.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think, where some of the general concepts of people who use humor to cope, I think it does come from, is that they got to deal with it some way. And why not this way? What's the alternative?
Yeah, you brought up the idea of culture within humor a few times. So yeah, culture, family, gender, like do these influence or shape how comfortable people feel with using humor?
Yeah, or like how they do. So I think there's two components to this. One of them is just in general when it comes to like how we were raised. Everybody learned the rules from somewhere. And whether they learned them explicitly, someone was told, don't talk about that. Don't joke about that. Or when there was humor or levity, what happened around the family table when someone tried to crack a joke? Was it laughed off? Was it taken seriously? Did it open more conversations? Everyone learns these rules, and you can kind of ask yourself, like, what was humor's role in my family? Was it an avoidance tactic?
Yeah.
Or was it used to swallow the difficult thing? That's one thing. Culturally speaking, there is a notion of expression versus containment, which is different than avoidance. Is humor an expressive component, or is it something that helps you express what we're trying to do? Or is it a containment, something that helps you contain what we're trying to do? I think maybe, that's an important, culturally, humor lands differently and is used differently.
When you talked about like learning the rules and kind of like how we grew up, it makes me think of the family I'm in now. So I've been with my husband 14 plus years now. And it took me a while to kind of get in the groove with his family. Because I learned over the years that, they make fun of each other a lot. They make fun of me. And that took me a while to get comfortable with and realize that that's like a love language almost.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
When used appropriately and everyone's in on the joke and everyone's okay with it, absolutely,
for
right?
Sure, yeah.
And that's the split, right? And that's where conflict does come in, where it's like my humor and your humor are not the same.
Yeah.
And again, there's types of humor and there's types of jokes. But I think that's a perfect example of like what it takes to be flexible and recognize that, when someone is just joking, this goes on both sides. When someone is just joking, you are both allowed to say, but that's not okay for me. And also learn to get in on it.
Oh yeah, and I've had to do that on both sides.
Yeah,
there's some
so
things where I'm like, no, I'm going to stand my ground here.
Yeah.
But then I've also tried to be a lot more adaptable and realize like, hey, what they're saying here, they're not like fundamentally putting me down.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to, you be authentic to yourself and trust yourself. But it again, it breeds and is helpful to this idea of like self-reflection and cognitive flexibility, where can you kind of, trust that pause and give yourself a second and ask yourself, like, what just happened in me? Like if someone cracked a joke at me and I'm like, that was deeply offensive to me. And like, I'm noticing myself getting now so worked up and feeling so offended and being able to say like, what just happened in me?
Right.
Here? Like, is this person actually out to get me? Or is this my friend and he's poking at me? Yeah, he's pointing at a vulnerability that I have. There's that vulnerability you spoke of.
Yeah.
And I'm not okay with it. Like, yeah. And that's on me. Like, I'm not okay with the fact that you just, poked at my weight or something. Cause like my weight's kind of a sensitive issue and I haven't quite dealt with that. And I'm actually a little insecure about that because I'm not working out enough as I want to be. And like, that's on me. Right. And I have to be able to discern or discriminate. Oh, but they don't think bad about me. I'm just thinking about bad about me.
Yeah.
And again, humor and again, the relation that it helps us have to problems, difficulty, challenges. There's that perspective, that cognitive flexibility that we've been talking about, that like it lets you now do that and kind of have that. Whereas if you get stuck in it and you're just stuck in the difficulty, then it's not going to be funny.
Mm-hmm. Joel, I love this conversation. You always get me to think of things in new ways and open different perspectives. So thanks for the good.
I think this was a fun one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Loved it. Thank you. You've been listening to Living Fully, a Calgary Counseling Center podcast. Thank you for tuning in. This episode was produced by Nick Here, Louisa Campos, Manuel Montano, Jenna Forbes, and by me, Catherine Hertig. A special thanks to Joel Zimmerman. Tune in on March 24th for our next episode. We'll be talking about AI and mental health, what these tools can be used for, the risks, and the human connection needed for mental health support. Yeah, it's a lot more nuanced than just, hey, this tool is here whenever I need it.
And maybe that's the important thing to know. It is a tool. So it's really like any other tool. It's not good or bad. It's how you use it. That's what makes it, like the context. Like a screwdriver is a really good tool, and there are good ways and bad ways to use it. A phone is a really good tool, and there are good ways and bad ways to use it. I think it's how we use them. That's what's important.
To stay up to date on our latest episodes, be sure to subscribe. We're available in your favorite podcast app. Living Fully is a production of Calgary Counseling Center and recorded in Calgary on Treaty 7 territory. Living Fully podcast is not a substitute or alternative for professional care or treatment. Calgary Counseling Center and Counseling Alberta provide effective counseling to anyone in Alberta with no waitlist and no financial barriers. Find us online at calgarycounseling.com and counselingalberta.com. For help across Canada and the United States, call 211. If you are outside of Canada and the US, seek help from your general medical practitioner.